Hello everyone, and it's I, Croc Hunter 99. Today, if you're willing to go up the reptile keeping hobby, and you're looking for a nice tropical lizard to keep in your terrarium, but I will say this is mainly for advanced keepers, so I would not just advise them for beginners. So today's all about how to care for the green basilisk. Welcome you back to our top planet. Okay, so the green basilisk is generally, I would say, I categorize as an advanced lizard because of its needs, its cage size, diet. Basically, there's a lot of stuff that are required that goes into keeping a tropical animal, and the green basilisk is a part of that category. So we're gonna go step by step on how to basically care for one if you do want to plan on getting one. Like I said, I wouldn't advise again as a first pet. Maybe like work your way up to it, and if you're ready for a green basilisk, this will definitely help you. That way you'll be able to give them a very nice and long lifestyle. Okay, so let's dive into that. So the green basilisk is a South American lizard. So basically they're basically a South American lizard, basically growing around about 3 feet long and 3 feet long in total. Now they are very arboreal, so that means they like to spend a lot of the time in the trees. Sometimes you can find them on the ground as well. They also get the name Jesus Christ lizard because of the ability to run across the water when they sense the potential danger. So, besides all of that, this is going to be the key tips of what you guys are going to be needing if you do decide to get a green basilisk as a pet. So like I said, they're tropical animals, so do require a different type of setup rather from a desert species like a bearded dragon. So I have kept a tropical animal before. For those of you who do know this story, but for the people who don't know, a couple years ago I used to own a Chinese water dragon named Roscoe. He was definitely a tropical lizard all the way from Asia, so his requirements were definitely a lot more substantial. Misting systems, proper substrates, proper way to soak in a body of water, proper lighting, proper UVB. So green basilisks do require similar aspects, but they also require a little bit extra. So let me go to so first we're gonna start with how big the enclosure has to be. Now green basilisk don't get quite big, maybe like around the similar size as the Chinese water dragon. Males do have that distinctive crest on their head, back, and even on their tails, where females do not. Juveniles do never have these crests yet. Whereas for enclosure size, green basilisks do require a huge, let me stress it up, a huge enclosure. So behind me, this is going to be a good example. So basically this is a 40, maybe 45 gallon terrarium made for basically tropical animals, like I kept my Chinese water dragon in when he got a little bit bigger. The thing is though, this size will be more custom to juveniles rather than adults. I mean, it's big enough to maybe house an adult, but in reality this is not really suitable for adults. So juveniles can be kept around maybe in a 50-gallon terrarium. So that's pretty big for just a starter, just for a juvenile. So even as a young age do require a lot of space. So this would be from between 45, but a 50-gallon I would suggest a lot better to give them plenty of space. Once they reach adults, they do require a foot by 3 foot by 2 foot enclosure. So that is definitely a very big enclosure for them that can be kept in. That way it provides a lot of space, a lot of climbing, a lot of hiding, areas where they can soak in the water, a place where they can eat, and so on and so forth. So this is basically will be a lot more better for a juvenile. For adults, need quite a bigger enclosure. For needs, substrate to start with, they can have coconut fibers, or cypress mulch as substrate. That way it gives them a more natural feel to the natural surroundings, as well as, like I said, they're arboreal, so you do need to provide a lot of climbing spaces for them to go and feel a lot more secure. That way they're up off the ground if they want to be. If they want to be on the ground, they can. They want to be up off the ground, provide plenty of climbing spaces. Also, you want to use artificial or live plants. For live plants, a vivarium will be a little more better, but for artificial, terrarium will definitely be suitable. But depends on what kind of enclosure you get. Either it's well bought or constructed. So a lot of climbing spaces, lots of leaves of them to be camouflaged in. That way they have some place to hide. That way they feel a little more secure. Add a water dish as always. That way they have a lot more soaking space. That way just to cool off from their basking spot. Now for a green basilisk, the basking spot does need to occur around 90 degrees, and on the cool side around 75 to 80 degrees. So as well as at night, the temperature does need to be kept around 75 degrees. So to do this, you definitely do need a good basking light made for basically tropical animals that can help reach this type of temperature. A good UVB light, as well as a red light to help keep the temperature up to 75 degrees after hours. But also for humidity, green basilisks do require an 80% humidity. So generally, they do need to get around 80%. To keep it that way, you can either do personal misting, like a spray bottle and mist the enclosure, or like how I used to, you can get an automated misting system like a rectifogger or something that I used to use. So I use this for tropical animals. This is a Monsoon RS 400 from Exoterra. So this can definitely help you keep the enclosure well misted. Basically, there is a dial on here that helps you, kind of cycle how often you want to mist it. You can do it every hour, every 2 hours, every 4 hours, every 8 hours, and so on. And basically, the duration, how much of it is going to want to be sprayed. So, with the help of one of these, basically automatic systems, it'll help you it's basically a lot easier to keep the enclosure misted. That way, the humidity does stay at a relative level. Now, because of that, you do want to try to mimic their natural habitat, was in a rainforest. So basically, kind of mimic that kind of like adaptation. That way, they feel more comfortable, like they're actually in their natural environment in the wild. Now, for diet. So green basilisks are omnivorous, but they do tend to be on the more meat-eating side than on their omnivorous, characteristics. So for food, you can basically feed them, if you want to, rodents, fish, but also you can feed them insect like crickets, mealworms, calcium worms, stuff like that. That would easier for them to hunt and easier for them to eat. But like any reptile, you do want to basically dust them with a type of calcium powder. That way they get a lot of nutrients when they do ingest it. So what I have is a Repticalcium. You can definitely use this. It does work for lizards, turtles, tortoises. This does work. So this is definitely something I would recommend, kind of like dusting off your insects with. That way they get proper calcium, and that way they'll be a lot more healthier. Now, green basilisks, they can be a bit skittish at times. The reason that they need a good size enclosure is generally that way they can have a lot of spaces to either run, hide, because too small of an enclosure might make them stressed out. It can even make them, and try to escape, they can easily bash their nose up against the glass. That's going to hurt them. It's not going to feel really good at all. So it's definitely going to cause a lot of harm than good. So a bigger enclosure as they get older is definitely crucial. That way they have plenty of spaces to hide, plenty of basking spots, areas to cool off at, soaking spots. So yeah, like I said, add a water dish. That way they get plenty of water, and that way they stay hydrated. So yeah, and for light and UVB. So this from Zoomed is a UVB light, something like this, but basically made for tropical animals. This is made for roughly desert animals. So it's mainly used for desert animals like a bearded dragon or uromastyx. So something like this to help keep the UVBs substantial is definitely needed. But make sure you get the ones that are made for tropical animals rather than desert animals. That way it makes it, a lot more easier to manage. There's that. So yeah, and like tropical animals, that can make trying to clean them up can be a little more challenging. Tropical animals can make a little bit of a mess, because like when they go to the bathroom, it's a lot more soft, moist, and like it's icky. Unlike desert animals, that basically when they go to the bathroom, it dries up. It comes almost like dust. So for desert animals, a little easier to clean up. Or for tropical animals, especially cleaning their enclosure, maybe it's like once or twice every single week or every couple of weeks. Get rid of any shedding, unwanted food, any waste that they deposit, make sure that their clothes are kept nice and clean. Now, for handling, like I said, green basilisks, depending on the individual, can be rather skittish And basically I wouldn't just make them being a handling pet. They're more often used as a display pet because depends on the individual, they don't really like being handled. Like I said, every individual is different. Some like being handled, some don't like being handled. So basically kind of trying to socialize them at a young age is definitely crucial. That way you have a well socialized animal, that way they won't feel nervous as they grow older. You know, it's kind of like that trust building that you try to build with them. That way it makes it a little more easier for them to trust you, rather than like if you don't really try to build that trust, it's gonna be a little more nerve-wracking, a little more nervous of you. But like, you know, it takes time. Never rush it. Have very short, you know, handling sessions. Maybe kind of like when they're trust with some food, kind of like build that substantial bond. But yeah, but like I said, you have to be very mindful of them because they are very fast. So green basilisks are very fast. If they do want to get scared and that door is left open, so let me show you an example. So imagine like this is happening. So like you have to be very mindful because basilisks are very fast. So if this is open and you turn his head for maybe like a second to do something, like if they might find an opportunity to escape or something spooks them and they want to run out, it's going to be very difficult to catch them because they are quite fast. If they feel cornered, they'll definitely feel afraid. They'll basically try to defend themselves through a bite, scratch you with their claws, or whipping you with their tail. It's not going to feel good. So you have to make sure you're paying attention to them. If you're doing something else that you're not tending to them right away, make sure this is closed and like locked. That way they can't try to get out. Because trying to catch a fast basilisk is not going to be fun whatsoever. You're going to have it's gonna be hard to catch them. If they want to get into something, it's gonna be really hard to find them if they want to get in somewhere that you won't be able to get them out from. So that's gonna be a disaster. So you gotta make sure that they're safe and secured. Make sure that you gotta make them feel safe. That way, hopefully, this does not happen. And like any animal, if they do wind up being huffy, puffy, like they don't want to be touched or messed with, it's best to leave them alone. Like let them be adjusted to new environments. Give them like 4 days or more. That way they'll get used to the new surroundings before you do any type of handling, something like that, because you don't want to automatically spook them and next thing you know it's going to be a whole nother thing. But yeah. So the green basilisk is a good animal to have. I would definitely say it's more for advanced keepers than beginners. And also, like any pet that you get, always make sure you do your own research because, like I said, like I described, the enclosures themselves can be pricey, especially if you're planning on constructing one. It can be very pricey. You know, like make sure you got the proper needs. Like make sure you have a missing system. It can all cost a lot. And basically, if you're able to do it, great. If you're not able to do it, then I wouldn't just get a green basilisk. I'll probably get something else, maybe like something like a basilisk, but a lot more easier to like manage. So yeah, so that's basically the key tips on how to keep a green basilisk basically happy and healthy. And like I said, the fact that they need a giant enclosure for their full size is absolutely just amazing. That most lizards around that size can, like, this is the substantial enclosure, or unless you want to upgrade it just to give them a lot more, you know, make it a lot more natural, give them a lot more space. That's completely up to you. But for a green basilisk, it's required. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's definitely required as they get older, as they have a bigger enclosure. And also, unless you plan on breeding them, never house two lizards, especially as adults, together, because you don't want to fight on your hands. So if you wind up keeping them, you have more than one, keep them separated. Unless you're planning on breeding them, keep them separated, because green basilisk, like, they are carnivores for the most part, so you definitely don't want any other issues. They might don't want them fighting each other, potentially killing each other. So just keep the adults separated, especially the males, because the males can tend to be a lot more territorial than females. So better keep them separate. If you have more than one, if you just plan on getting one, then that should definitely be enough. Alright, so hopefully this helped you guys basically trying to like go through the tips on how to care for a green basilisk. Alright, so that's it for today. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. If you have any questions for me, post in the comments below. Don't forget, subscribe for more content, and I will see you all next time. See ya! Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more content, follow my social media, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!